It actually makes sense. We're doing a Gwent talk show to play some Gwent. All right, so yeah. All right, so deck builder. So what are you doing? You're doing Northern Realms?
Yeah, I'm doing Northern Realms.
All right, I'll do Monster because it's kind of it's the easy one. Everybody starts off with Aridin, and there you see the foil Aridin. Just look at that card. I mean, if you, it is absolutely gorgeous. Foil Aridin or special Aridin, whatever you want to call him. He's phenomenal. Okay, so I'm gonna do a basic one. I'm not gonna tell. Well, I'm gonna tell y'all for the podcast what I'm doing. So when you first get this game, you have a starter deck, which is actually pretty competitive. But one of some of the cards you want to get early on, this is just my opinion on Monster, is the easiest one to build is a weather deck, right? So Monsters have some cards that are inherent for the weather synergy. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put some Foglets in here. But Foglets, the strength of them, if you play, we talked about Gwent from The Witcher, they have like a pseudo muster ability. So it was called muster back then. Here it's just, they're summoned when fog comes out. So that's always a good thing to have. I'm going to play a lot of that. Play some Wild Hunt Riders. When you play one, the other ones come out. So that's a good one. I'm going to put some Wild Hunt Warriors in there. They synergize with weather in that when you play a weather on your opponent's side, unless they're weather immune, or gold, it'll knock them all down to 1 point, which then the Wild Hunt Warrior can come in and ping them off the board and then thus get rid of them. So they could have a 27 strength unit. You play Snow, it's a 1, and then all of a sudden you knock them out of the game. So you want to have a little bit of removal with your monsters. Now, if you want to go, and this is a blue card, so maybe not as easy to get, 1 or 2 Ekamaras for a little bit of next level play, and we'll break into that later. I'm not going to do too much right now on that. But you do have a monster passive where whatever your last card played will stay on the round. So Ekamaras are used by a lot of players as a you're going to play this card as your last card to make it a high strength card to move to the next round. So I'll explain more of that in a minute. We're going to do some basic stuff here. Some Thunderbolt potions, pretty basic. 2 of those. Maybe we'll just do 1 Snow and 1 Fog. Very basic. And then you see how beautiful they are. The foil versions of them. The snow, the guy's freezing, the crow's picking his head. You know, that old nugget. Silver cards. One thing about The Witcher. I'm really. Is the mic sounding like fun? Oh, is the mic not sounding good?
It's sounding good on the stream, but it's cutting out for me. But I can still hear what you're saying, so that's good enough.
Man, I don't know what it is. Okay, sorry. So I'm just building a very quick monster deck. And so one of the things about Gwent that makes it great for me, and I'm going to let Codexo go through his deck. And Codexo, what you can do is tell me your deck, and I'll just place the cards as you talk about them. That's cool?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
So let's start with bronzes. Then.
Hold on. Let me finish mine, and then I'm going to cut to you.
No, start with mine now.
All right, so silvers, we're gonna go. Now, if I was building a good monster deck, I go with some of these purples right here, and the rarity you see on the bottom right hand.
A couple. You can put in a couple epics, and epics aren't exactly hard to craft, but you can put in the legendary as well. I've done that, something that makes sense, but isn't oh my god, pay to win, you know?
All right, so we'll go with Marigold's Hailstorm is a good one because you'll come across a lot of Melee Row, which is the first row decks, and you'll come across a lot of Siege Row in Northern Realms. So Marigold's Hailstorm is a good weather card to play. And then you want to put, if you get a chance, a Water Hag is really good because it weathers the back row, and you don't have anything on the back row, so that'll work. And she's a blue, so she's easy to craft. I'm looking for some good blues here. Well, I'm just going to put the Witches in. Although that's anti-synergistic, so let's go with something blue. Looking for something kind of basic blue. Ugh.
Have you put in Ancient Foglets?
I didn't put Ancient Foglets in, but I put in some weather instead of them and Ekamaras. But we're gonna put Ancient Foglets in because we'll keep it basic. Ancient Foglets are really good because they'll gain strength while fogged, which synergizes very well with the Foglets, obviously. And so silver, we're gonna go with. You wouldn't be bad having a Demetrium Bomb. You wouldn't be bad with having a Scorch. You wouldn't be bad. This is basic decks now. Looking for something blue. You wouldn't be bad with that Drowner. Old Spear Tip is always very good. And I'm looking for another blue. We're just going to say you're going to craft another Weather, and we're going to go with Biting Frost, if I can find it. White Frost. So that's a pretty solid. And then golds, if you get any, your chances are you're not going to have any golds this early. But if you do get them, they're actually easy to craft in monsters. Woodland Spirit's 200 craft to do, and it gets you a fog. You want to go with heavy frost. This spawns a frost. It's not very hard to craft. And then other than that, they're all pretty expensive. But we're just going to say you stumbled upon some. This one you get with the game, so we'll put a Geralt in there. And the cheapest blue I can think. I'm taking a lot of time. I apologize. Let me just put something in. We'll do Gravedigger, Caretaker, and we're done. So we're going to do this as a starter deck. Shifu starter, kind of.
All right, you ready to check out some full test decks?
Yes, and we're going to save and exit. Now, just so you know, for those of you that are watching, we are going to break down how to build decks later on in the week. But this is just a very solid monster Weather. And now we're going to build on my screen. I'm going to give it to Codexel, and he's going to build a Northern Realms starter. All right, starting with your hero.
All right, so I'm going to start with full test because that's the starter hero. He's a bit lackluster once control becomes very prominent in terms of the availability of good Scorch effects, for example. He still has a place in the meta at all levels. That is something that's really worth pointing out. He's not. So I'm going to build something that's a bit of a tempo deck.
Let's do something real quick. Let's go. Let me go ahead and call you on Skype. I think you're right. You're breaking up pretty bad for me.
Okay. Let's do that.
Let's do Skype.
I'm gonna start Skype then.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. Real quick timeout. We're gonna put it on Skype because I can hear him breaking up.
Fantastic. I love Discord. It's great. All right. You call me when you're ready, bro.
All right, bud. Let me see. Very sorry, guys, about this, but it is a podcast, and we don't want it to be. And y'all are listening. We don't want it to be horrible.
Makes sense.
You getting the call?
Nope. Stop that, and I'll call you. Dang it.
Live TV. It's always good. There we go.
Yep. All right. Through.
All right, let me mute you on Discord real quick. All right.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yep, perfectly.
All right, good. Here we go. All right, let me go back to my. It sounds much better. Let me.
Yeah.
Get...
Why weren't we doing this from the start?
You said it, and I said no, so it's my fault. All right, here we go.
So the backbone of your deck is always bronzes. So you always want to have a consistent theme that you're thinking about with your bronzes. I want to go for something that's quite reliable, that's cheap to make, and not just all the pay-to-win cards. So I've chosen to make something that's tempo-orientated and has a lot of starter cards with some tempo in the spells and the golds. So I've gone for 3 Reaver Scouts, and this is to pull out more of your 3-ofs. In general, you want to run as many 3-ofs as possible. Like in Hearthstone, you want to run as many of 2-ofs as possible to increase the reliability and the consistency of your decks. In addition, Reaver Scouts pull out a bronze unit on the battlefield already, and since there are so many other 3-ofs, this should gain value quite a lot over the course of a game. Right, next up is Blue Stripe Scouts. So that's also on the range. You want to some degree to stack up rows because of buff cards that will be coming up, but Blue Stripe Scouts add 4 strength to any unit that's non-gold on your side of the battlefield, which synergizes really well with full test, and it's only rare, so it's not bad. Next up is Reinforced Trebuchet. This is also a rare, and at 6 strength, decent tempo, has a really good ability that smacks something on the opposing side of the board for 1 point every turn. And they're just a really good staple at any level of the game. They'll always get good value. I mean, if they get removed, they get field medics more often than not, and they get rezzed. Finally, there's Redanian Elite. I'm including these because they're common, and they're not actually a bad card at all. They will be played mostly at the mid-level and below, but they're good. Alright, and finally, we have the spells for bronze, which are 2 First Lights. First Lights are just fantastic. I mean, they're better at lower level because you're going to be facing more monster weather in general, but if they don't get used to clear weather, they still have a secondary effect that you can choose instead of clearing weather that allows you to pull a random bronze from your deck. Well, technically the top bronze from your deck, but for all human purposes, that's random, right? And finally, 1 Lacerate, which should make 15 bronzes. Is that correct for you?
It is.
Right, so Lacerate is... I'm including partly because it's premium in my game, so you can just stare at how awesome it is later, but it's the card that is common, so you will generally pick this up before the more useful, arguably more useful Manticore Venom. But yeah, Lacerate in there.
So no field medics, right?
No field medics. Field medics I would include in other lists, but I decided to go for a non-field medic because, like, one of my mates started recently, and he didn't pick up 3 field medics for a good long time, so had to cross them instead. So it's fine. So let's move on to silvers. So you have at spells Dimeridian Bomb because I mean it's pretty solid, and you actually pick it up generally quite early on because it's only a rare. You'll generally pick up a copy, and silvers you can only run 1 of. So bronzes you can run 3 of, silvers and golds you can only run 1 copy of in any deck, which means any excess copies are completely redundant. But they generally have strong enough effects that a 1 of is absolutely fine. Next up is Commander's Horn. So that adds 4 strength to 5 adjacent units for a total of 20 points maximum. It's in the starter deck, and it's pretty strong. It's one of the best cards that you start off with, I would say. Alright, next up is Reinforcement. This is a rare, so I'm including this because I want to really emphasize the ability of my 3 obs in my deck. And finally, I'm including... No, actually, not finally. I'm including Priscilla. She's an epic, but she is so great that if you want to play Northern Realms, she is definitely worth crafting. She pulls 2 cards from your deck that you can choose from and instantly plays them as is, and that is pretty darn amazing considering she can be resurrected. Next up is Sela de Tanzerville. Actually, do you remember her from The Witcher 2?
Oh yeah, I certainly do. She betrayed you.
Yeah, I mean betrayed is a strong word. I mean she was never really an ally in my book.
Well, that's true. Yeah, she was. I'll never forget her because when I started playing the game, you know, she was there for helping you hunt the Karen. Spoiler alert for those who haven't played yet. And I thought, wow, what a bitch.
Well, I mean that's pretty strong. I mean, I don't think I could ever condone this on live TV.
Right.
Anyway, she's in the starter deck, so that's why she's included. I mean, you will quickly want to move past her because her effect is meh. But she is, I mean, she's a silver slot. She does the job. She does a job. Good job. All right. Next up is Prince Stennis. He is a spy, and spies are great. I mean, it's quite hard to grapple with the idea of why spies are good until you're a bit more advanced as a player. But I'm including it just so that if I do pull it, we can show off exactly why it is good. So hopefully that'll happen. And I believe that's all the silvers.
Yes, it is.
Alright, so let's move on to the golds. So, I've gone a little bit greedy on the golds, partly because let's show off some premiums, and secondarily because I kind of want to show how even some of the less played golds can really bring a deck together. So, I'm starting off with Shani. This card is so good, it's basically auto-include in any Northern Realms deck. It is amazing, and it's only an epic, so really one of the first targets you should make if you are aiming for a Northern Realms deck. It's just, it's a medic that turns the target into a gold. I mean, what's not to like? And considering the Northern Realms passive is to add 2 strength to any gold that is basically uninteractable with, for example, weather, it's a really good card. Next up is Philippa Alher. So, I'm running quite a lot of spells, and I wanted to justify this synergy by running Philippa. She is a legendary, but just to show some of the lesser played cards as well, just to show how they can be interesting in overall. Next up is Ciri. Now, I'm including Ciri, mostly because she's premium, but she also comes free when you reach level 18, which means that she is an inevitable step on the level ladder that any player can access after a certain point of a certain time of playing it. And for my, one of my friends, like he's only played for just over a week, and he's basically made that level and gotten Ciri. This means that even though, regardless of her craft cost, she will be accessible to all players, which is part of the reason why she's in this deck. Finally, there's Geralt, just vanilla Geralt, because there are many Geralts, some of which are using signs, and I presume all of the rest of them are going to be using signs, which are going to be quite interesting. What Jurgen is going to be, for example.
Right.
But overall, Geralt, he is not the best golden game. That would be quite weird, considering you get a Geralt for free when you sign up to beta. But he is solid enough that he can be a backbone gold to any deck when you're playing it early on. He's an epic. I mean, it doesn't really matter as long as you join it in the beta. You're going to get a free Geralt. Awesome. And it's going to be premium, so you're going to see it in action. And I do believe that's all 25 cards.
I just want to break in real quick. I had a one of our big contributors said this to piggyback off of what you said when you're building your deck. This is from H8. Northern Realms is also good for beginners because it has a lot of good bronzes that are interchangeable. So you can run medics / siege support / ballistas instead of any of the non-Reaver Scout bronzes if you don't have enough of them, and do pretty well.
Absolutely. But another thing I would say is that Northern Realms has generally pretty simple interactions, and that's what makes it good for learning the game at first. Because, it's just, how do I get more numbers? I'm good at numbers. More numbers. I mean, it's really, really simple to play them. It's intuitive. It does what it says on the tin, and it does it well. So it's really, really good for learning the game.
All right, I'm going to throw you an invite here.
Right, wait. Give me 1 second, and I'm good to go.
All
right. Send what you like.
Oh, of course, this is the bottom. I can't get to the bottom of the screen. Oh no. Well, this is something.
Oh, here's a pro tip, by the way, guys, for anybody who's planning to play friends matches in Gwent, which is, I believe, half the game. You really want to get friends and play them in Gwent. It's so much better. If you want to say invite sent, just because the client's a bit buggy, you want to say to your friend that the invite is sent, because sometimes it bugs out and you don't get it, and then you just sit there staring at each other being like, hey, Shifu, you sent the invite yet? Yeah, well, since about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. I'm actually having a hard time sending you the invite because...
All right, I'll send it to you if you just quit to the menu.
Yeah, I can't. My computer's kind of... Because I have all these things open up, I can't click to the invite or close button.
Have you pressed escape?
Yeah, let me try that. No, it's not working real well.
Escape, Alt-Tab, and then Alt-F4 if nothing works.
Okay, well, I see my... Well, yeah, let me just close the game down.
Slight technical difficulties.
Right.
Elevate music.
Alright, let's try this again. Well,
alright. We do need elevator music for sections like these, though.
Right? Yeah.
Da 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 da.
Alright. The podcast people are going to be like, what is all this? What is going on right now? You're not missing anything. You're missing just black screens and craziness.
It is the one time in the show where actually being on the podcast, you're not missing anything whatsoever.
That's my fiance, by the way, behind me. I don't know if you can see her in the camera.
Oh my god, she is as hot as in all the pictures.
See? Alright, so you send me an invite when you're ready, man.
Alright.
Closed beta problems, right?
Shifu of the cards. One thing I really want to stress to people is that this isn't still in closed beta, and this game is actually looking ridiculously amazing. There are some bugs here or there, but when this gets released, I mean, I really wish that Hearthstone ceased to exist.
I agree. Yeah, this game is so much better than Hearthstone. One of the things I love about it is it minimizes the RNG and rewards tactical playing 1,000% more than Hearthstone.
Absolutely. So, okay, one thing to point out is that both of us have this third-party program called Gwent Tracker up, which just shows extra things that you should probably ignore for now, but let's just focus on the mulligan phase. Do you want to go through your mulligan, man?
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So I have, I have 3 Wild Hunt Riders. Well, you don't want that because one will bring out the rest. So one of the good things about this monster deck is that early on you can drop a Wild Hunt Rider and try to get something else. But you don't want Foglets either because they summon the rest. So it makes mulligan choices pretty simple. So you just kick the Foglet out, and there we go. We got a pretty good starting hand. I'll give it to Codexel now with his starting hand.
All right. So I've got First Light, and I know I'm against monsters, so I'm probably going to hold on to that. I've got a Reaver Scout, which means I can pull out extra stuff, but I've got 2 Redanian Elites. So I'm going to throw away extra Redanian Elites and make sure that I've got an efficient way to pull out those Redanian Elites for later. And I'm going to try to pull another spell, because that would be nice to use with Philippa. But I'm going first. So at the beginning of every game, there is a coin flipped, and as you noticed, like for me, this is showing the Northern Realm symbol, so that will change when it turns over to my opponent. And going first is generally a disadvantage because card advantage is generally a thing. But we'll talk about that later. I'm going to open up with a stable play a Redeeming Elite. So this thing, if 3 or more are played, then they convert to gold and they gain the Northern Realm's passive buff, which is pretty good.
Okay, so now as a monster player, I have a couple things I can do. Now, when you're just starting off, you don't know all the combinations. And generally, you're going to know that Redanian Elite, you're going to see if 3 or more hit the board, then that's bad news. They turn into gold and your weather won't affect them. Also, Foltest's ability is to copy a card, so that gives him automatically, you've got to think he has 2 in play. You've just got to kind of think that proactively to respond to it. So I can do a couple of different things. I can wait until another one hits the board before I deal with it and just play my pieces and get some creatures out there, which is what I'm going to do, and throw it out there. That way, he doesn't really know yet that I'm a weather deck because I'm Aridin, so we still kind of don't tip our hand.
Wait, how did you get 3 units out with 1 card? What?
Yes, that is the benefit of right? The muster ability. What it does is 2 things. 1, gets more units in play. Also, it thins your deck. That's for later discussion at a later time. And now we wait for our Northern Realms friend to continue.
Wait, so you're going to pull cards out of your deck? I better do the same then, otherwise I'm going to fall behind.
You one of us or not?
So I'm going to play this Reaver Scout, and so I can choose the Redanian Elite and pull out an extra card from my deck, which gains more power than playing it from my hand, and also thins out my deck to improve the quality of my later draws.
Apparently my screen is too big. They can't see my cards.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, we're just going to just trust me when I... Okay, so that stinks. Well, for you...
Just name all your cards so I can remember them off by heart. Easy.
So I'll just play it blind. So we see that he has 2 Redanian Elites. So we do have a weather card in hand that we can use to shut that down. So we'll play it now. And it is going to shut down the first and third row. But our guys are weather immune, so we won't be affected by that weather. Whereas you see his... Oh, we had picked one. I'm sorry. I was too busy talking and looking at other stuff. At that particular point, we should have... It used to be both. Now it's one or the other. We should have picked rain on that case. I was out of it there. Yeah.
Get BM'd.
So I made a mistake, and now we see the penalty for that. But you want to have that card because it does one or the other, and we could have done rain, and it would knock his units down to 1.
So I have a very specific reason for making this play, but like, you know, I'm more competitive than this guy, so I'm gonna keep it a secret.
Regroup.
So
I'm gonna play a Blue Stripe Scout and just buff my back row because he made a horrendous mistake that, like, I mean, come on, bro, you're rank 15.
I know, it's bad. Or I could have been baiting you into something. So we'll have to see.
Oh god, he's gonna rain. Oh no.
So what we do here is we play this card. It brings down the rain, but if he has a clear skies, it'll bring that card back up to 11 and 7.
Not bad.
What do I do now? What do I do now? Oh, I guess I'll play Philippa and play my Clear Skies at the same time and draw a card with it.
Very nice. So there's the benefit of using Philippa. That's a really good combo.
And then I draw a card. Oh, such value.
All right, so he has 11 strength on the board. Chances are we're not going to get better Scorch value than that, as they're probably going to become gold. So we'll go ahead and use our Scorch, take that 11 out. It would have been better had he not buffed it. We could have taken both of them, but because he buffed it, we only got one.
Not bad at all.
That's pretty good, my friend. It's pretty good. I mean, I'm not sure what I do with my life anymore. Guess I'll just play another one of these.
The taunts. Do you hear this? Do you hear this? This is a friendly game, and the taunts that are flying out of this man. It's
Gwent
crazy.
with friends, man. That's what you can do in Gwent with friends that you can't do online, huh?
So we have a choice. So he has 26 points. We have 13 points. I have one more card than he has. I got to calculate. This is for advanced, but at a certain point, you want to calculate the risks of going on. Can you legitimately win the deck with what you have, or to keep card advantage? Since this is just a beginning game, we're kind of just learning and playing. We're going to go ahead and we are going to... I don't really have any cards y'all can't see that interact with his back row. So I'm just going to try to go with as many points as I can to keep it kind of competitive.
Oh, that's a good play, man. That's a 12-point bronze card. That's strong. So I got, like, that is known as putting out tempo, right? Putting out points very, very quickly with very few cards. So I've got to keep up with that, right? Like, so I've got to play the highest tempo thing from my hand as well. So I'm going to play this guy, pull that one from my deck, which does all the aforementioned thinning, and buff one of the back guys again. Plus, each player can only run one Scorch, so I know that's a perfectly safe play to make.
And you see, that was a brilliant play. You see how a 2-point Reaver Scout can turn into a 10-point play. That's just really good. The 2-point brings out the 4, which makes it a 6-point play. The 4-point adds 4 points to another card. 6 plus 4 is 10. So with one 2-point card, he made 10 points. That's just extreme value and a really good play. What I'm going to do now is I'm pretty sure that this round is lost. So what I'm going to do is play my biggest card in hand, or in this case, summon Aridin to the board, who's an 11. What that does is two things. One, it makes sure my opponent has to play a card to win. Two, when he does, I pass, and that 11 sticks to the board for me. Hopefully.
Also, you want to right-click your Aridin just to show that off, man.
Yeah.
Alright, so what I'm thinking is, now he's offering a draw on even cards, which means that I have to consider the quality of my hand, and thinking, if we both draw and the next round becomes the last round that we both have to win, is my hand better than his? And he's got an 11 keep because of the monster's passive, whereas I get nothing. So I probably have a big incentive to continue. I'm going to copy this, because that gives me the most points.
Crush those vermin!
And because there are 3 Redanian elites, they'll all turn to gold now and gain 2 points each, which is quite a big point play. That's 11 plus 6, which is 17, which will... I mean, if I wasn't sure he was going to pass already, because, you know, I can hear him, I would probably assume that would be a good way to try to win the round.
Exactly. And now as a monster player, all I have in my hand is weather cards, a Dimeridium Bomb, and a Foglet. So I really had nothing to play. I was pretty much... That was the best play I could hope for. I'm going to go ahead and lose. He used his hero ability. I'm feeling actually pretty good. You can lose a round in Gwent. You don't need to go all in every round to win. Technically, that was the best play I could have made to go into round 2 ahead. I have one more card in hand than he does. Because he won, he starts the next round, which technically gives me 2 card up with 11 points on the board. So I'm in a really good position, even though I lost the first round.
So it's worth noting that, like, unlike in some other games, like, the other player, after the person passes, still has an option to play, even when they're ahead. So in theory, there are some cards that I could play right now that can give me more value. Something like that will make one of my units stick, for example, is often playable afterwards. On the other hand, here I have nothing useful to do, so I'm just going to pass and go to round 2. So, one thing you'll notice is that, barring certain exceptions, the player who wins the round will always go first. Unlike in the first round where it's just a coin flip, I'm always going to go first here, and I'm an entire card down. So I'm going to develop my Reinforced Trebuchet because I want to get some point value from this card at some point. Maybe it was wrong, but I'm not sure exactly how long this round will go on for.
I don't have anything in my hand, really. So I'm just going to put the fog down. And the reason I put the fog down is it does give me 4 more points because it summons those foglets.
Although, because nobody runs 2 foglets, I know you have a foglet in hand, so that's something
Right.
worth exploiting.
That's true.
I'm afraid.
Ah,
Oh
brilliant.
man. So I'm playing a spy because I won the first round. I don't care about winning this round, so this is just a delay tactic to gain a card and dig deeper into my deck for my best cards.
And that's a great play. And that puts me in a tough position because even though I have 26 and he has 6, I realize that if I pass now, there's a very high likelihood that he could easily beat me and win the round. And I have to win. Now, that lets this foglet play for me as a stall tactic. I'm just putting out a card that I really don't want in my hand to try to dwindle his resources down going into round 3.
So, because I won round 1 and I don't care about winning round 2, I should dump my worst cards right now because they won't be good next round. So, I'm going to dump this and get 6 value, which is not insignificant, but I don't really care. I'm just trying to dump my bad cards.
Mojo said finally he understands how to play this game.
Yeah, Mojo, thank you for your coaching, senpai.
Now
I learned so much.
I am still screwed with the cards I have in my hand, but I can't pass. So what I want to do is try to, like he is, dumping his least valuable cards. Well, right now this Biting Frost is not hurting me by playing it, and it could possibly hinder him if he has any melee units. So I'm just dumping cards right now.
So, even though this card is theoretically useful in the next round, I'm concerned with the hand texture that I've got that, like, if he has weather next round, some of my cards are going to be actually fairly useless, and he's got a decent keep because the Eredin is the last thing that he played either with his hero power or from his hand. Therefore, I want to continue a bit more and actually apply some points pressure on my opponent. So I'm going to clear the skies right now, get rid of the foglets, and get rid of some weather so that my hand becomes opened up a little bit more.
And again, for me, I'm in a bad position. I don't have anything, but in my hand, I have a Dimeridium Bomb, I have White Frost, I have a Wild Hunt Warrior, and I have Spear Tip. I want to try to keep the 5 and the 4, at least for points in round 3. And I'm just going to go ahead and play White Frost. It'll get me 6 more points on the board. Well, I'm going to play it, and I'm going to summon the Fog, the correct choice this time, and get 6 more points on the board.
So at this point, I'm 15 points behind. Actually, I'm 14 points behind, so not too bad. But again, I'm concerned that this is the kind of deck that might run a lot of fog. And that means that any ranged units that I have next round will have diminished value. But I can influence his keep for next round, so I'm going to play my Sealer de Tanserville and hit his Eredin 4. The foglets aren't the keep, so that means that the Eredin should be reduced from 6 to 4. Oh, sorry, 6 to 2, which will make next round much better in my favor.
Now, for me, that was a great play on his part. It knocked one of my big cards down, so he's forcing me to play cards here. So I'm going to play the Wild Hunt Warrior, which we talked about at the beginning. If a card is affected by weather, it can then neutralize it. So that was a 6 strength card that got knocked down to 1, and by eliminating it, I buff myself 2, which makes it a nice 8-point swing for me for the weather.
By the way, one thing I wanted to just point out is that I think Dimeridium bombing your melee row is a better play.
Yes. Yeah, that is a good play.
It would have made the Eredin the 11 and it
right.
would have been made Stennis at 12, and it would have made the 11 the keep, which would have been much better.
It's good. You're right.
But anyway, 2 cards against 2 cards. He's got a 7 keep. I don't think it's going to get much better than that. I mean, like, I know his hand, so that's besides the point. But, like, assuming I didn't know his hand, I think that this is the best situation I could get. So I'm going to pass right here and bring my cards against his cards plus 7, but overcomable.
And what he's saying is because we both have 2 cards in hand, I've won the round, so I go first, which technically means that he has card advantage going into the last round, and by card advantage, that means that he will play last, which is huge, especially against monster weather. If you run against them, you want to play last, so you can then cancel out any weather effects they'll have on the board, hopefully. All right, I'm going to start off and just play a big card.
Okay, so that's some points. I'm going to play the Reinforced Trebuchet because has an extended round effect, i.e. the earlier you play it, the more value you get. So, makes sense to play it first, right?
Right. I am in a difficult situation. I have Old Spear Tip, and I have a Dimeridian Bomb. I know that he probably plays a lot of reinforced or back row stuff, so I'm just going to go ahead and play Old Spear Tip in the back and set up and hopefully play some more siege row units.
Alright, so now's the time to play Shawnee, because I want to res something with high tempo, and that will mean probably Sealer the Tanzerville. I mean, once you have better cards, there will be much better cards than Sealer to res. I promise you that. But here we go. And Sealer becomes gold, so she gains 2 extra points, and replays the effect that she has. So that puts me 2 points ahead, and I'm very comfortable.
Now, because I saved the Dimeridian Bomb at the end, I can go ahead and hit his golds, which will knock, not very much, but it knocks 4 points off of him, which puts me up in the head by 2, and hopefully his last card is not, well, 1. Hopefully his last card's pretty crappy.
Well, I mean, considering the Reinforced Trebuchet hits for 1, that means that if I make a 1-point play into the Frost, I still win, so that's unfortunate for you.
Very true.
But because I had complete freedom to keep my best cards for the last round, I have Premium Geralt, which you can just show off by right-clicking that. So he gets buffed by 2, but he's a 14-point play, so pretty decent, certainly early on, and I win 28-14.
And that was very well done. And there we see the user interface, and I don't know if it'll kick it off. I thought maybe we could hold on the board for a second. And then it breaks it down to points by round. And he played very well, and he won using Geralt.
GG, man. Well played.
GG, good job. A real good job. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, that actually brings us to the end of our hour. And now that we've made the decks and we have some different things,